morning, citizens. You're now trapped in a nerd cage with your hosts Mark and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Yes, hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in NerdCage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. Thank you for joining us. I am Jason G, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York, and always with me, my man, the Fiend from Louisville, Mark. What's shaking, boss?
Hey, what's going on, man? Super excited, man. I gotta tell you, as someone who is not a big Zack Snyder fan, on your recommendation, I went and I purchased the Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition. And I got to tell you that we all owe Zack Snyder a huge apology. Because because let me tell you, like, that version of the film fills in so many gaps that the theatrical version completely left out. So many holes that it left, that it makes the film make narrative sense. It actually gives a lot more gravitas to this fight between Superman and Batman. Why each of them thinks the other one is a menace. And then, it answers a lot of questions. It still has its problems. I still think it does have some things where you're just still kind of like, but for the most part, I mean, it's a solid film. I think if this is the film that was released in theaters 4 years ago, we'd be having a much different conversation about the DCEU and where we'd probably be in a completely different place right now.
Yeah.
So, with that said, without giving away too many spoilers or whatever, I kind of wanted to get your take on it, because I know you're already a huge Snyder fan. So I wanted to kind of see.
That's what's so funny, because you're coming around, because anyone
little by little
the show should know that Mark's not a Snyder guy.
No,
Snyder's just like, Mark, you would just be like, oh my gosh, like he can do visuals, but he can't tell a story. That's all I heard from you. That's all I heard from you, and now you're changing your tune a little bit.
So the way for anybody that doesn't know me, or anybody that hasn't heard any of our audio like podcasts or anything like that, the way that I have always viewed Zack Snyder is he's a great visual storyteller. Like he knows how to do action, he knows how to do fight scenes and things like that. I sort of equate him as like the modern day Michael Bay. Like he's like the Michael Bay of comic book movies. That's how I've always seen it. But
I can't
kind of changed my mind. I have to be honest, this movie really did change my mind about his ability to tell a story. And it also opens up like all of these questions about politics that were going on behind the scenes at Warner Brothers. What was happening at that time that would keep them from releasing this in its entirety, aside from the time limit?
Well, basically, as we kind of tapped on last week, was Warner Brothers they're run by different people now. There's different heads in the office now that are no longer there, and it's just like, okay, so now I feel like Warner Brothers is apologizing to Zack and apologizing to the fans because we got the Snyder Cut coming of Justice League, and and now recently there's been a resurgence of Man of Steel is finally getting a lot of getting like a resurgence on Twitter, I've noticed. And I always felt like Batman versus Superman, I think people are going to look back at it. I mean, I know there was that gut reaction, but I think now people are finally looking back at it now, like you did. You finally took the minute to watch the Ultimate Cut, and I think people are coming around, and now we're wondering what is the future. And for me, I'm excited because we are getting the Snyder Cut, and that version, the Ultimate Cut, again, should have been in theaters. The 30 minutes that was cut from that movie really took away a lot of elements. And
if you ask me, all the important scenes in that film were completely excised from it. To where all you get is an abstract if you look at the theatrical version, and I meant to go back and rewatch the theatrical version today so that I could sort of compare notes. But from my memory, it was a complete abstract. It was just like Superman thinks that Batman is, this rogue vigilante. Batman thinks that Superman is just a menace and hasn't really done a whole lot of investigating. They just sort of decided this about each other, and that Lex Luthor is sort of giving them a countdown to do what they want to do anyway.
Yep.
And there's all these little extra things in there that are just thrown in for nonsense. It was just a garbled mess. That was my original opinion of it. And if I hadn't seen this version of it, that would still be my opinion today. I still think the theatrical version, whoever made that decision to release that, is probably not at Warner Brothers anymore. And probably rightfully so. This Ultimate Edition should have been the theatrical cut. There's no question about it. And even though it is 3 hours plus, I would advise anybody who hasn't seen it yet, that's interested in any of the DC properties, to not let that sway you. It doesn't feel like 3 hours. It feels like, a normal full-length feature. And I would think that it would feel like that in the theater as well. You'd probably get even more, more satisfaction out of it, seeing it on a big screen, with the full theatrical sound and everything. It'd probably be a much better.
The fascinating thing is, we tapped on it earlier, was that Warner Brothers has, like, looking back at some of their big films, like Harry Potter, a lot of those movies are like 3 hours long.
Right.
Lord of the Rings, God forbid anyone who could sit through those movies. Oh my God, I don't hate those movies, but that's a long sitting. They're like 3.5, 4 hours, and then they have like these other cuts that are like longer. But I'm just saying that since when does Warner Brothers say 3 hours is too long? Because historically speaking, like, it almost seems like a sabotage. But whatever.
I mean, yeah, honestly, it could be that, if you look at it on the one hand, and I was not listening. Why am I saying listening? I was reading an old article from 2016, where Zack Snyder had been interviewed prior to the release of BVS. And he was saying that, I really wanted this to be 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I showed my cut to the execs at Warner Brothers. They said it needed to be trimmed down, and because I'm not Spielberg and I'm not Peter Jackson, I had to relent. That was his exact words. So maybe the reason why you get, a 3 hour Hobbit movie, or a 3.5 hour Harry Potter movie, is because those are directed by people who actually have a longer track record and and were better known at the time, so I kind of understand that point of view. I kind of wish that maybe he had fought for it a little more, or maybe even split those into 2 movies. I think that would have worked a lot even better, because then you could have put in more. You could have put in another 15-20 minutes more per film, and have it split into 2 and flesh the story out even more. But, I understand, like where he was at the time. Yeah. And Warner Brothers was already like kind of, I was reading something about the politics that were going on behind the scenes. They were already not very happy with him because of Man of Steel. Yeah. That not being a bad film, but commercially it didn't do what they wanted it to do. And so you had,
and again, gut reactions.
Right.
And now I think people are looking back at it now like, maybe they didn't pick up things before, or maybe they just view it different now.
Exactly.
So
yeah. So I could talk about this for the entire half hour. I was that like impressed with it, really. But
good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see you're coming around to the dark side, the Snyder side.
We'll see what the Snyder cut of Justice League has for us. But I'm definitely even more intrigued now about it.
Okay. So Marcus, so you heard it, folks. Marcus officially dipped his toe in the pool just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
He didn't make He didn't make the big splash, but he put his toes in the pool.
Right.
Now, I understand there's another movie that you recently watched. I can't hear your take on.
So earlier this week, I finally got around to watching Invisible Man, which I'd been wanting to watch since it came out.
Oh, that was
heard
good.
all these great things about it.
It was good.
It did not disappoint. It was so good.
That was a $7 million budget.
That's what I'm saying. And it made, I did the math on it, like it made like 18 times the amount that was spent on it. It was like 126 million domestically. So it was a tremendous hit, that really came out
unexpected.
Of nowhere. Yeah. Just
no one was
unexpected,
asking
just the
for
way
it.
was done.
We all know. Going back a little bit. Oh man, Tom Cruise, The Mummy. Oh man, that was okay.
Why you got to bring up those?
Okay. That was a missed opportunity.
Right.
That could have been great because leading up to it, the previews, I was excited for it. Like I was like all about it. I missed the theatrical run because I heard from everybody.
Right.
Finally came the Blu-ray. I'm like, all right, well let me watch it, and then I'm just like, oh man. What they could, it could have been great. It could have been great.
Right.
And they, I know, here's the thing though, Universal was the first to do the shared universe thing. And then another one that comes to mind is Toho, doing the shared universe thing, in Japan. And now obviously Marvel has brought it to a modern audience and took it to the next level.
Right.
And of course, now we have like all these, shared universes and whatever, and I understand why Universal wants to get on it because they feel like they're the first to do it. They feel they can do it again, but now I think they found some footing. There is an audience for these Universal monsters, but we don't want it to be forced.
Right. Well, I mean, it's important to note too that what they're saying now is that even though all of these films are coming out of the same studio, they're not very interested in making sure that it is a shared cinematic universe. Yeah. There was talk about Dr. Jekyll making an appearance in The Invisible Man, to sort of set up other films. And then, after a little bit of discussion, they realized, well, there's no real reason, at least for right now, to connect these films. Maybe at a later date, but let's just concentrate on making really good films really cheap.
And they pulled it off.
They pulled it
off. Man, she's
great in everything, right? She's amazing in everything.
I've always known who she was. I never watched Mad. My dad watches Mad, and my mother actually watched his Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
So I didn't. I wasn't really up to. I mean, I was aware of the stuff she's done, but I haven't watched that. So seeing her in this movie, I'm just like, wow. She just talk about a mesmerizing performance.
Right.
And then, not to go into spoilers, but there's the restaurant scene. I'll say nothing more. The restaurant scene and a few others. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't think any other actress could pull off what she pulled off, and the execution, and it was a good explanation. My only problem was I think the previews accidentally gave the Invisible Man away a little bit with the splash of paint. You know what I'm talking about? I think that was probably in poor taste. They probably could have done without showing that in the trailer, but I can get past it. This movie was so well executed. It was a great story. It was tense. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I didn't even want to blink because you knew he was out there. The Invisible Man, I'm saying. You knew he was out there. And you didn't want to blink because if you blinked, you could have missed something that he did, whether he was pulling on a sheet or grabbing something off the table or whatever.
Right.
Oh, man, I can't remember the last. Definitely one of the best 2020 releases. I definitely top 3 for me for 2020 so far. And
I would agree with that. I would say that this is, we haven't had a ton, with COVID-19 and everything like that, with the theaters closing down. We really haven't had, a ton of home runs out there. But I mean, as far as what has come out this year so far, this is definitely a favorite for me for this year. And shout out to Aldous Hodge, for his supporting role. For people who don't know who he is, if anybody who has seen the film, he's the friend that that took Elizabeth Moss's character in and has the daughter, and he's the cop and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really great actor, very unsung at this point, but I think he has a really bright future. I mean, he's a really good. He was actually my before what's the actor's name? Before Chadwick Boseman came along, he was actually like my fan cast for Black Panther. I actually thought he would have been a good Black Panther, but with that said, Chadwick Boseman is amazing, but this guy I think has a really bright future ahead of him. I think he's going to be a big star. So
excellent. So with the success of Invisible Man, we've learned recently that Ryan Gosling is going to be Wolfman in a Wolfman movie. I don't know what time setting they're going for, because I know the Benicio del Toro one from a decade ago was set in the old times, and now James Wan's directing a Frankenstein movie about a guy who's assembling a monster in his basement, and his neighbors are watching him. So I am so intrigued about these upcoming Universal monster movies. Now, whether they're connected or not, I don't care. I'm looking forward to these movies, and if they can keep it in the same vibe of what Invisible Man was, making it more like a suspense. Right. Oh my God, I look forward to this, and I really hope they can continue making these monster movies for a modern audience.
I think that they've finally figured out. I think they've cracked the code with this this last film. Yeah. And
after like 4 failed attempts.
Right, after multiple attempts. Although
Van Helsing, it's a fun movie, but Van Helsing, and then you had Dracula Untold.
I actually liked Dracula Untold.
Though. Wasn't bad.
I liked it. I thought it wasn't great, but I did enjoy it. I'm a big fan of Luke Evans anyway. Yeah. So I thought it was a. But
that was supposed to launch a universe. Didn't happen. And then The Mummy, and we all know that story.
Right. I think at this point I think they're making the right decision by not connecting them right away. I think you go ahead and you tell the standalone stories
on a low budget.
You let these films do what they do, and then maybe 8 years from now, 10 years from now, when these individual franchises have been solidified, then you connect them. So and I really think that's their plan. I know that. In addition to the movies that you mentioned, there's also going to be a couple of comedies, I guess you can say, or comedy tinged kind of films. Like there's one coming out called Renfield, which is about the assistant to Dracula. If anybody who's familiar with like the Bram Stoker novel, Dracula has, he employs his lawyer, but he's actually like a little bit mentally deficient and eats insects and different there's different takes on him, but this version of him I guess is going to be sort of a disgruntled assistant, and it's sort of when I read the synopsis they pointed to Taika Waititi a lot. I know he's not involved in the project, but I think the idea is to sort of give it that satire, that satire vibe. So there's that, and then there's Elizabeth Banks doing an Invisible Woman, which I think is going to be interesting. I thought Invisible Woman was going to be a sequel to the movie I just watched, but it turns out it's going to be a completely different story. So, but I'm still excited about it. It'll still be good.
All right. So with speaking on upcoming films, we were shell-shocked yesterday of basically Warner Brothers shifted all their movies, which also created a domino effect because they weren't the only ones. I think Universal shifted a couple of their movies, and so I don't know where you want to begin, but Tenet, I don't really think Tenet was really affected much. Tenet was originally supposed to be released July 17th, now moved to July 31st.
They pushed it back 2 weeks,
because this is the movie that Warner Brothers is banking on to get people in the theaters, to get the movie theaters rolling again. Like I don't think it's just Warner. I think other studios are like watching Tenet.
Yeah, everybody's looking to.
Tenet's got the most pressure.
Right.
And then we had Wonder Woman got pushed back 2 months to October, which again, it kills me a little bit because we were supposed to get it last November, then it changed to June, and then now August, and now October. I mean, I get the sense Warner Brothers doesn't want to push it back too much because they really want this to come in theaters.
Right.
But the most gut wrenching and the most annoying and the most head scratching one for me, Godzilla vs. Kong for the fourth time been delayed all the way to May 2021, and therefore Matrix, which was going to be the Matrix 4 weekend release.
Right.
By the way, Spiral. Sam Jackson is coming out the same weekend as Godzilla vs. Kong, May 21st, 2021.
Right.
And now Matrix 4 has been postponed to May 2022. And therefore, with Godzilla vs. Kong moving, James Bond moved up a week to November 20th. And Bill and Ted moved up a week in August. So, again, shell shock. And now there's nothing official, but there's rumblings about Disney moving their Marvel movies again, but it hasn't been official yet. But the official is Warner Brothers has moved, James Bond moved up, and Bill and Ted moved up. So, Mark, what do you got to say on that?
Well, I mean, it's, this is probably the trickiest scenario that any studio could probably come up with. We're in uncharted waters with COVID-19 and how it has affected our everyday lives. And I think that the movie theaters are going to have the hardest time of anybody, really, as far as coming back. Like
every state's different.
Yeah, because it's not, it's even beyond, the states giving the go-ahead to say, okay, you can reopen on this date. It's a confidence thing, right? Because if you think about each individual movie theater as a box, right? So you have a small box and it's going to have X amount of people in it. You've got to sit in this box with these people breathing the same air for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So while I think that it's probably going to be okay, the right safeguards it sounds like the right safeguards are going to be in place. They're doing everything they can to make sure that, these areas are sanitized. Yeah. I think that in people's minds, they're still wondering if it's safe to do that. And so, that's got to have studios worried. So, even though here in Kentucky, I think that our theaters are going to be opening pretty soon, it's so close to when, let's say, Wonder Woman opening in August. That's still close.
Yeah.
So much, in fact, that, does Warner Brothers want to risk probably their biggest film of the year?
Yeah.
Do they want to risk blowing that in a period where people are still unsure about going to the movies? So to me, it makes perfect sense that, some of the bigger budget films and some of the ones that you plan to use to make a bigger splash, that you would push those back. And the additional reason, I think, is that you want to also give yourself enough time to ramp up that marketing, because you could, you want to give yourself at least 2 to 3 months, maybe even more, for like a really strong marketing campaign to let people know, like, hey, Wonder Woman is coming out on this date, Godzilla versus Kong coming out on this date, give them the right amount of trailers and make sure that everybody knows to come out. So to me, it makes sense, even though from a fan perspective, you're like, oh, come on, I totally get that. But, business is business. And we do, at the end of the day, we want these movies to be successful so they'll make more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's your feeling on it?
Well, frustration. I'm eager to go back to the movies.
Right. Me too.
That's like, like I said, that's like part of my normal lifestyle. I go to the movies every week. I go to the gym, when I can. Right. And right now in New York State, neither one of them are open. So it's like, once those open back up, I'm going to feel some kind of normalcy again.
Right.
I can echo everything that you just said, but at the same time, like, I mean, you can't lose. I like video on demand is still video on demand is still an option. I mean, I understand this. Some students can be hesitant, but like Wonder Woman 84. Okay, I know for a fact that there was rumors about that going video on demand. I think they can still find success in video on demand. I know they want to get the theater. I know they want to get the butts in the theaters. I know they want to make the profit in the theater. But you know what? I think Wonder Woman, especially the fact that we got the momentum of Justice League Snyder Cut, I think it's got people excited. I think Wonder Woman could possibly write off the coattails. Who knows? I don't know. I just like it's touchy territory, you know. But the thing is, my personal frustration is not so much at Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman didn't get pushed back too much. Neither did Tenet. Those are not big postponements, and they're not shocking either. The shocker to me was the fact that they pushed Godzilla vs. Kong all the way back to May. Right. Keep it in mind, it's been postponed 4 times. It was first it was October of 2019. It was supposed to come out the same year as King of the Monsters. Right. The movie's been done. The movie was done filming even before King of the Monsters came out. Well, then they moved it to March. Yeah. They moved the movie to March. Then they moved it to November, and now May. So it's like New Mutants all over again. My concern is Godzilla vs. Kong has not... Let's see. Every time it's been postponed, it had nothing to do with COVID. It's been postponed for other reasons they're not going to say. Okay. So I got 2 takes on it, and I need to rant a little bit. One, I was never sold on Adam Wingard as a director. I enjoyed VHS. I don't know if you just heard the VHS movies. Yeah, they're all over on video on demand. But those are found footage horror movies. I personally like them, but I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. It's because found footage is not something that everyone can get into. Right. So I don't really have faith, given his reputation. I don't have like the biggest faith in Adam Wingard taking on the daunting task of the 2 biggest monster movies of all time. Right. The other thing I find troublesome is the special effects. Every MonsterVerse movie has been a different special effects crew, different director, same writers, but different directors and different crew. The special, I don't know the man's name, but the guy who did the special effects for Christopher Robin. Okay, those are probably the worst special effects I've ever seen. The of Winnie the Pooh, right? You know, of living a live Winnie the Pooh with it looked bad and it was laughable, and I saw all the memes. I laughed, but you're giving this man the keys to do Godzilla vs. Kong. That worries me. So I'm wondering if they're postponing because they're not happy with the special effects, or they're not happy with the script, or they're not happy with this, and that. I'm wondering, like, it's just troublesome that they're postponing this movie for a 4th time. And when you look at the reception of the King of the Monsters, and you look at the, you know, a relatively unknown director and a special effects supervisor that I wasn't a fan of, and you add all that stuff up, it worries me. And boy, I don't know what else to say without pissing off the kaiju community, but man, when you do the math, it's just not a good sign. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. And that's, you know, you obviously know a lot more about those Godzilla films than I do. I'm not a big kaiju fan. I only know like the minimal amount that I've read about the production. So what I did read recently was that they actually did halt production during COVID. I guess, I don't know if there were reshoots or other things. Must have been reshoots because they were done with principal photography was done before King of the Monsters even came out. Right. So apparently what they were talking about were either reshoots or maybe ADR or something else that was going on, that it wasn't finished. Maybe it was only principal photography, because I do remember they spoke with one of the stars and they asked about it. And they said, do you have to
do anything additional, and she said no, all the principal photography was done.
Yes, that was Jessica. Oh, I can't think of it. She was in Baby Driver. Oh, I can't
I think Isa Gonzalez. So basically what she said was, all the principal photography is done. So it could have just been, maybe they didn't have all the effects, maybe they didn't have the scoring, maybe they didn't have all the ADR completed. And so they did halt production for some of that.
Maybe they saw the special effects and like, we can't do that.
We need to kind of.
Because like I said, Christopher Robin, I'm sorry, I know there's people who like that movie, but to me, that was like the biggest joke of the year. I couldn't stop laughing at the trailers. I couldn't stop laughing at the parody trailers. Like, I was dying, and I'm like, there's no way you can defend those special effects. And then Karma came back to bit me in the ass because now this guy got hired to do Godzilla versus Kong, and I guess Karma came back at me.
Right. So, I mean, you may be 100% right, or it could just be, standard. Yeah, we're speculating. I'm of the mind that it's just sort of par for the course. Like they were ready to go, but because they had to move these other films, like it was a domino effect. It was just, okay, we've got to shuffle these movies down the line, and unfortunately, GBK is one of those that just has to move.
Yeah, but the baffling thing is, Dune did not move. That's in December.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. It didn't move. Yeah, you're right.
As far as I know, I checked this morning. Dune still has a December release date, and the
well, that we know. Like, we don't know if they've announced. They probably just haven't announced it yet if it has moved. But it could be that maybe they just reshuffled the ones that they felt like that were a bigger risk. Yeah. Let's put it that way. So Dune is far enough out to where, we should know what's going on with COVID and everything like that by the time it's scheduled to be released. Yeah. So, whether or not, whether or not we're open in the summer or, a little bit later, September, October, whatever, it shouldn't affect that release date. So it makes sense to me that will kind of stay where it is. And then these other ones that had release dates that were a little bit closer, you would have to move those, and then it would just be sort of a ripple effect with these other ones.
Yeah. All right, and
so a little bit fired up on that subject there.
Yeah. Just being a diehard fan, it bothers me, but I don't think people are seeing the whole picture. But I like I said, if I was on Monstrosities right now, big shout out to Monstrosities, friend of the channel. If I was on that channel and I spilled my guts there, that everyone in that chat would have shot me down so hard.
Well, have faith in it.
I want to. That's the thing. I want to. Right. And like I said, I enjoyed King of the Monsters, but I recognize that it wasn't what it panned out to be. What it could have been. Right. I recognize that, and I did not. I hated 2014, but I love Kong Skull Island, which by far is the best one among the three of them thus far.
Right.
But like I said, just my the fanboy in me is just like, oh my god, this is gonna be so great. But the other part of me is just like,
right.
Don't go in with these high expectations and then come down and walk out of the theater disappointed. It's so conflicting as a diehard fan of, and I'm a Kong fan too. I'm not just a Godzilla. I love monster movies, but it's just, my faith is just dwindled a little bit because of, again, a fourth time being postponed. That's all. It wasn't like it was postponed once, 4 times now.
Right. I mean, so you feel about Godzilla versus Kong the way that I feel about New Mutants.
Yeah.
Come on already. You know what I mean? Like how many times? I think they have.
God, I swear to God, New Mutants is contagious.
Yeah, that's it. It's a contagion.
Contagious.
Yeah, that's it. So, that, as we speak about some of these films that like we can't wait to kind of dig into, I know that you saw the trailer as I saw for Bill and Ted 3.
Yes. Oh,
now
the day.
Yeah, me either. I thought, I walked out of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey thinking like that's it. They've gone to the future. Yeah. They've come back. They know how to play. They're going to write this song, and that is the end. That is the absolute end. But they figured out a way to give them a plot point for a third film. So, what do you think of that trailer?
Oh, yeah. I love the trailer. Oh my God, I laughed and I'm like, wow, Bill Winter still has it. Like he didn't lose a beat. One of my friends was telling me like, yeah, but Keanu doesn't handle the voice. I'm like, well, it's been a long time for Keanu.
Well, and and also like naturally speaking, like it's how long is that? It's been almost 30 years since the second film came out. Naturally, your voice would change and your mannerisms would change. You would get a little bit older, even if you felt younger and acted younger. So I think that it's pretty much right on.
Oh, I'm excited because it's just like, I'm a '90s guy. Bill and Ted, I saw those movies when I was really young, and I feel like Bill and Ted was partially between MTV and Bill and Ted and Beavis and Butthead and a few other things, and having an older sibling, my dad. I mean, all of that was like the perfect storm, like the gateway to bring me into like hard rock and heavy metal, and I discovered a lot, between all of that. But Bill and Ted played a crucial role in the music that I listened to.
Right.
And I never thought in a million years that Keanu would come back to that role, or it's awesome. Like, we're coming full circle. I mean, I'm hoping maybe this will open up a door to like other movies that need to come back, or maybe a Wayne's World 3. I mean, you never know. Wow. It's exciting to see this actually happening, because I never thought. I mean, we heard rumblings for years. I never thought it was going to happen. After watching that trailer, didn't disappoint, and it didn't give away too much. I will be there opening night for sure.
Right. Same here. I mean, when I first saw the teaser, my initial reaction was, well, they really didn't give you very much. But then when you think about it, that's what makes it good, right? So they laid out exactly where they are now, where they've been this whole time, what they've been up to or not been up to, and then they let you know what the mission is. But they don't give you anything beyond that. The rest of it is just like little quick snips of different scenes, but you're not given any context in what those scenes are, which I think is the perfect way to do a trailer. So for my money, I loved it. I thought the trailer did its job. It piqued my interest, and now I'm ready to see this thing whenever it's out. So.
Bro, like wildfire. Everyone on Twitter, everyone on Facebook, or like. I think the general consensus is that everyone's excited, and
I especially love that Death is back.
Yes, and the thing is, like I wasn't asking for this personally. Right. I wasn't asking for it, but now that it's happening, I'm all on board.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait to go on this journey that I know will not be bogus.
Right, it's gonna be excellent. It's gonna be excellent.
Yes. All right, so I think we covered everything we needed to cover. So I guess actually before we go, there was a tragedy in the comic book world. Mark, you want to touch on that real quick?
So for comic book fans like myself, specifically fans of Batman and Green Arrow, and some of the Silver Age comics, Denny O'Neil passed away, and that is one of the saddest, for me, as a longtime reader and fan of his, a tremendous loss to the comic book world. I mean, his influence specifically to to the demeanor of Batman and also the Joker. You know, he's responsible for making the Joker, you know, taking him from, you know, just a silly sort of side character in the Silver Age Batman comics to the Joker that we know now, which is the violent psychopath that everyone should fear. You know, he did that with the Joker's Five-Way Revenge and then later other subsequent stories. You know, he also did a lot of great things with, you know, Green Lantern, Green Arrow. That's an amazing series that came out in the 70s that had to do with, you know, a lot of political issues that were happening at the time that people are actually revisiting. They're discovering those issues now and seeing how they relate to today. I mean, the guy was just a visionary. He was an amazing writer, and he's going to be missed. You know, so
absolutely. I mean,
yeah, rest in peace.
Long story short, so the Batman that we have now was completely, you know, shaped by him. So absolutely
he was. You know,
we couldn't leave today without talking about that. So I'm glad we did. And well, anyway, we'll call it a wrap now. I mean, that was a lot of fun. We had a great discussion here. So we say to everybody here before we go, we ask you to pretty please like, comment, ring that bell, spread this shit like syphilis, tell your friends about us. So to you,
somebody's laughing.
Phil to Syracuse. To our friends and fans around NerdCage Live, enjoy life, stay safe, and good night.
Sayonara.